Our presenter today is Ebony Johnson, and Ebony is a policy manager from the National Retail Association, and she'll be facilitating today. The NRA has partnered with the state government to roll out the single-use plastic bags ban education campaign for retailers, and the information she'll share is going to be really important for our local businesses and community groups or sporting committees wherever you're from. Feel free to pop into the chat what group or business you're supporting tonight, and now I'll hand over to Ebony.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all of the councils combining. Makes my job a lot easier. As you said, the National Retail Association, we've been engaged by the New South Wales government, given our experience that I'll explain, to help all businesses and all community organisations and suppliers to help them understand and prepare and comply with the New South Wales plastics ban that's coming into effect this year in 2 stages. So really, I need to make very clear, I'm not government. I represent industry and organisations, so I really come from that perspective. I can't change the regulations, so if anyone asks, sorry, can't change them. But I really appreciate your feedback. My job is to really help you understand these and explain these in a way that I suppose the layman understands them, rather than you reading 80 pages of regulations. I'm just going to share my screen. I'm going to run through some points at probably breakneck speed. I'm not sure what kind of businesses or organisations we have in the room, but feel free in the chat to put your details in, just so that in the Q&A too, I can really focus on what your particular questions and areas might be. So just checking everyone on screen, you can see that, can't you? That's all working? Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to proceed now. So yes, like I said, we're from the National Retail Association. My name's Ebony. I'm in the policy team. I largely look after sustainability matters, and we really represent everyone from retailers and industry around that, their supply chain. But really what's happened in the last 5 years is we've got so involved in these single-use plastic bans, really helping businesses through it, that now we seem to be the hub of information for everyone who's impacted by these bans. And I think one critical thing that a lot of people fail to realise is that everything from local government to education facilities to community groups are impacted by legislation like this right across Australia. So to give you context, I'm currently managing about 5 state bans. Wish they were all the same, would make my life a lot easier, and something we keep asking government for, but unfortunately they're all a little bit different, so I'm sure some people in the room have experienced that. But if you need, you can always reach out to us afterwards, and I can help you with other state bans or give you a perspective across them. So just to give you context, that's our experience, is that for the last 5 years we've really been there on the streets with businesses and organisations, going through these bans with everyone. So here's a few pictures from the streets too. So it's really a very small to medium business focus. When we get out on the streets, we're really looking for all the great stuff that businesses are doing, celebrating that, but also making sure that they're across what they need to do to comply. We've got a little Instagram you can follow if you like. So just reiterating, can't change the regulations, and I'm also not responsible for public awareness. So the New South Wales government is running a public awareness campaign, and that'll probably even accelerate further through the year in the 2 stages. You might have seen a bit of media happening, but our role really is to step in between. So we have a hotline, a toll-free hotline that runs weekdays. We've helped the government develop the resources on their website. It's not our website, but we've helped develop all those, really giving them the perspective of how to simplify the message for businesses and organisations. We're also holding all these kind of online sessions, and if you have any further questions, next Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the month, I hold regular online pop-in sessions for anyone who wants to come along and ask about these bans. So another critical part of our role is feedback to government. And just a reminder, anyone coming into the room late, just pop yourself on mute. Otherwise, we'll get that feedback. Okay, I'm going to run through the ban and you might have already gone through this information, but what it actually includes is just a bit of an overview. I'm not going to really focus on cotton bud sticks and micro beads today, but if anyone has any questions about those, because really they're more about the manufacturer's control of those. So it's not something that usually many organisations control at this level. Okay, so who does the ban apply to? Like I said, it does apply to retail or hospitality businesses. I think that's pretty expected. Anything from a discount store to a takeaway food outlet, online stores, and those related businesses are all impacted by the New South Wales plastics ban. Also manufacturers, suppliers, the people who are providing your packaging are also impacted. And in fact, the penalties are doubled for that sector. So if you're a manufacturer or a distributor of packaging, one to watch out for, because quite serious regulations that apply to you. But important to note is that anyone undertaking charitable, sporting, education or community activities, if you're using these items, you are impacted by the ban. Even if you're, say, using a straw for a lovely kids craft activity, technically that's supply. I just had to check that this week. So some little nuances to be aware of. Now, distribution centres and online stores can supply outside of New South Wales. This is a New South Wales ban, but I would recommend check for bans in other jurisdictions, and if you need, just give us a call, because this is the 5th ban that we've currently got on, and Victoria has just announced theirs to come into for February next year. It aligns quite closely to the New South Wales ban, so happy to give you any information about that. So it becomes an offence in 2 stages this year to supply banned items. It's also illegal to provide false or misleading information. So that's really important for suppliers and manufacturers to be aware of, in that you really do need to make your retailers or your clients, charities that are buying off you, you need to make them aware of what they're buying is going to be banned soon. And then there's some nuances about supply. So if you're a community group or a business, what's unique in New South Wales is that you cannot hang on to this stock and just have it sitting in your back room. It is illegal to possess it. I wouldn't say that government's going to be running around checking everyone's back rooms, but it is important to note that difference to other state bans. But the key purpose and intent of this legislation is to cease the supply of these problematic items to your consumers or members or clients. That's really what this legislation is targeting. So just skipping through, and don't worry, you can have these slides and things like that if needed, and it's all available. All this information is available on the New South Wales government website. So it will be enforced by the New South Wales EPA. So the regulations are coming to effect starting the 1st of June, and then there's the 2nd stage in 1st of November. The New South Wales EPA will be responsible for enforcing it, and they can apply penalties if they choose, if it's appropriate. For an individual business like a corporation, it can be a fine of $55,000, say if you're a community group or a business, like a retailer. However, suppliers, that can be up to $110,000. So quite highest fines I've ever seen. So I think that indicates that the New South Wales government is very serious about these regulations, really wants it to be a success and for people to take it seriously. But I would suggest that they're not really trying to focus on those. They will pursue an education-first approach to compliance rather than running around and fining everybody. That's never been the preference of government in my experience. In these particular things, when it comes to forks and straws and things like that. Chemical spills, very different situation. So just running through the banned items, I'm hoping that people have got a little bit across what is included in the ban. One of the most important things is 1st of June, so only less than 2 weeks away, is the ban on lightweight plastic shopping bags. Now, I know that's a really short time frame. If you're only finding out about this now, the information's been out there for a while, but also this is the last of the bans in Australia to copy this lightweight plastics ban. So I'm hoping that everyone's really been proactive about this, but if you are still struggling, do reach out. Let us know if you're still struggling with this. It is not all plastic bags. So I will make a particular note that there were some media stories on some of the media channels today that actually got it wrong. So no, the supermarkets are not banning their 15-cent reusable recycled plastic bag in their supermarkets as of 1st of June in New South Wales. Completely incorrect. It is lightweight plastic bags. So these are the really light, flimsy ones that you used to get. Most retailers, including the supermarkets, phased these out over 2 years ago. But this is really just capturing those that were still using those really light, flimsy bags. You absolutely will still be able to get your reusable bags in that in a lot of the places that you've been expecting that. However, the best thing you can do is take a sustainable thing you can do. It's even more sustainable than paper. And actually those reusable, recyclable bags that you see in the supermarkets are one of the most sustainable because they're actually recycling a whole heap of pallet wrap that hasn't been recyclable before. So some really great wins that Australian retailers have been developing over the last couple of years. So just if you need to ask your supplier, you don't need to be an expert in plastic, just ask them these questions, and we've got these in the materials on the website, is you just need to ask them about that thickness. Please don't go close to the minimum thickness because you probably will get stuck with a batch that falls under. So happy to answer anything on that, and also reminding everyone that for the entire New South Wales plastics ban, things like bioplastics and plant-based plastics and compostable plastics and whatever else they like to be called are not allowed. The same rules apply. So please don't fall into that trap, and I can go into more details about why and perspectives on that if people are interested. Plastic straws, stirrers and cutlery, this is coming in right across Australia. This ban is pretty consistent of what was rolled out in Queensland and South Australia already. So it does apply to your straws, your stirrers, your cutlery, all your typical serving utensils. And just remember, mute when you arrive. So first, please consider avoidance. So if we've got community groups, can you get into reusables? Do you really need to give out a straw or a cutlery if people are really just taking it home? So you'll probably notice now that Uber Eats it's optional to take cutlery because most people are delivering it to their home. So little things you can do to also really save yourself money as a business or a charity. Does your festival or event really need to offer disposable cutlery and things like that? Can you have a washing station? Can you encourage people to bring reusables in your marketing? You will actually save yourself some money. Otherwise, there are disposable alternatives. They will cost you more. So that's why I really emphasize to look for opportunities to really help the consumer behavior change, in that we all need to use less of this stuff, not just switch it out for wood for every instance. But there are quite a few alternatives available. So if you're still struggling with those, don't overcomplicate it. Please don't buy bioplastics or sugar cane. Sugar cane in straws usually has a bioplastic. It's okay in other things, but just watch out. And if something's claiming to be, I'm not plastic, and it looks and feels like plastic, it is. I've seen thousands of options, so really disappointed with some of the greenwashing out there. I'm seeing a lot of it coming in through imported. A lot of Australian retailers and businesses are trying very hard to be very proactive in this space. So just be really careful. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So and I saw a question pop up in the chat there, so I may as well answer it because I was on bags. No, it does not include waste bags. The question I always get about bags is it is just shopping bags. That is defined as a shopping bag is defined as a bag that is used that has handles. A, must have handles for it to be classified as a shopping bag. And B, it's to convey goods from a business or an organisation. It's not for some other purposes, but it does include things like, say, you're getting home delivery food home delivered and things like that. Those are lightweight plastic bags. So no waste bags, not your doggy waste bags, not your kitchen liners, not your barrier and produce bags, your fruit and veggie bags, not your grape bags or your chicken bags, not your packaging, none of that. That's all really captured in the national packaging target. So if anyone's interested in those kind of packaging items are really captured in what retailers and businesses are doing on a national level by 2025. So if anyone's interested in that, there's some great work going on there. But this is exclusively about shopping bags and getting rid of those real flyaway, lightweight plastic bags that are really problematic in the environment and in landfill, because they fly away and end up in the environment. So I'm going to jump. Oh, I just jumped past plates and bowls. So one really key thing, so plastic plates and bowls without lids. So a key difference there. So pretty straightforward with plastic plates. We all know the party plates and things that we're talking about, those pure plastic plates. You might see them in a food court. Those are banned. It doesn't include trays. So you might be using a servingware tray or things like that. No, it's plates you eat off. So think of it as, do I eat off it, is really how that's defined. Bowls, a bowl under New South Wales regulations is defined as without a spill-proof lid. So this is really to protect. At the moment, there's still a lot of innovation going on in the space in terms of food safety and burn protection. We're really finding a lot of the heat-sensitive products like hot curries and soups. Some of those alternatives are melting and disintegrating and spilling on people, and really businesses and charities and community organisations, perhaps like who's in the room, your first priority is food safety and ensuring the safety of your clients. That is what we've relayed to government, and we really, internationally, we're still seeing that more development and more innovation is needed because we don't want to supply things that are dangerous. So that's the reasoning behind that, and I think that's really fair, but it is coming. So keep your eye on that space. We really do want to get rid of lids or change them to something recyclable or things like that, but the New South Wales government is exempting them for the moment. So there are other options. There's cardboard and things like that. Just be very careful, once again, that it's not lined with plastic. So if it's claiming to be purely waterproof and all kinds of things, and you're thinking, wow, it looks a little bit shiny on the inside, or how is it holding all that water? Maybe best to come to us and ask us, because it's probably lined with a plastic. Unfortunately, there's nothing really in the world that makes things waterproof like plastic in disposable items. So bioplastics are being developed, but once again, remember, New South Wales is not allowing bioplastics at this stage. So any questions on that, I'm happy to take. But there's plenty of options too in where this is the difference. Sugarcane, I mentioned sugarcane, not good in straws. It usually includes a bioplastic. But when it comes to a bowl or plate, usually it doesn't have a bioplastic or a coating in it. So that's quite a good option. And that's made by sugarcane pulp that's usually discarded. Quite a great sustainable option. Just be very careful of what you're buying and make sure there's no hidden nasties in them. So all of those items were the so sorry, I should just go back in that 1st of June was the only it was only bags. Definitely in the 1st of November bans, EPS, food containers and cups. So this is really important. You'll often hear in the media they say polystyrene, or they say, oh, all food container and cups. No, it's expanded polystyrene. So everyone's familiar with that white or black or grey foam that most of us got rid of. You saw it used to be in Macca's. They used to have the polystyrene EPS 30 years ago. Most major retailers got rid of it years ago, but we still find it around, and a lot of community organisations might still have these old coffee cups lying around. Time to get rid of those. They're really bad for recycling, really bad for the environment. So this is the first step. It's not all plastic coffee cups, it's not all cups, and it's not all containers. It is just these items. Just trying to get rid of that foam as the first step, because it is the most problematic. So happy if anyone has any questions about that, but I usually find that's probably one of the easiest things to implement, and suppliers are pretty aware. They've been trying to phase that out. So steps to prepare. So that's in a nutshell. I've raced through what's banned. Some quick steps to prepare that I'll just quickly go through before we go to some questions, but plan ahead. Really plan ahead. I know if you're still in bags, you don't have much time to plan ahead, but I would say the more challenging stuff is getting ready for straws and cutlery and getting your members and clients ready for that transition, because people don't love wooden cutlery. We know. They don't love paper straws, but they need to get on board because that's what's available. Otherwise, they really need to be encouraged to bring their reusables. So plan ahead and start. Don't leave this to the last minute. supply issues are a major problem at the moment. If anyone's seen the grocery shelves in different areas, you know, we're all recovering from a pandemic. We've got staff issues, all kinds of things. I'm seeing the same thing happen with packaging suppliers. Shipping has been delayed, all that. Please don't wait till 1 month before the ban to order. You won't get it because that's when everyone else is leaving it to the last minute. And remember, there are 5 other bans going on at the moment, so supply is short. Get in, get in now. So WA is banning all these items on the 1st of July. So theirs comes in earlier for some of their items, but some of the things you might also hear too are not relevant to New South Wales. So you'll hear that WA is banning plastic cold cups, and they're banning all plastic shopping bags. Very different situation. And if anyone has operations there, you're probably pulling your hair out because of the short notice. Please reach out. We're working on that one as well. So I'm happy to talk with you. I know that one's particularly challenging at this time, given all that we're going through with the pandemic. You can transfer stock to another state if you really needed to, if you're a supplier or you've got lots. That's better than landfill, or you can recycle it. Some recyclers will take it in bulk. You know, even the plastic fork, if you've got a lot of them, that's still a valuable plastic resource to some recyclers, but they won't take a box. But another option is to get it to another state where they can potentially just use it up rather than the last result should be landfill. And reach out if you're even considering doing something like that. I believe the New South Wales government, they're trying to look at processes where maybe they could offer some kind of bulk collection and things like that, but I can't guarantee it. But plan ahead, especially for the 1st of November. Speak to your supplier. Now, give them a few questions. You can have a look at the brochures and the information on the website. We've put some copy and paste questions in there to ask your supplier, so you don't need to be an expert. They need to be advising you of what is compliant. But before you even talk to your supplier about what's my disposable alternative, I really encourage everyone to think of, how could I stop giving these away? For starters, do I need to keep giving a straw with every single drink? Do I need them? You might decide, yes, I do. But then maybe think about, is there any way I can start to think about reusable or washable or things like that? It will save you money in the long run, and it will help the environment. But you need a bit of time sometimes to get your clients and members used to it. If you hold events, you might involve that in the promotion. This is a waste-free event. Bring your reusables, or reusables will be available for a rent at $5 at entry. Things like that. Return your cutlery set on the way out and you get your $5 deposit back. I'm seeing some fantastic initiatives by local charities and community groups, and it's really saving them some money. You can even just set up washing stations. I'm seeing that at a lot of markets now. Consumers are slowly getting on board, but if you do need disposable items, that should be your last option, but we know that it's very necessary for some people. But just do your diligence, make sure they're food safe. If you're importing them directly from overseas, there's maybe not as stringent rules overseas. You always want to make sure they've checked for nasties and toxins and things like that. Otherwise, go to a reputable supplier here in Australia. They're pretty aware of this ban. 3, inform your team and your customers. Can't emphasize this enough. If there's businesses or charities or community groups or events or councils, you are at the coalface of this ban to customers, in that they are going to ask you what to do. So if you're the one handing that product over, it's best to get your team across it and to start preparing your clients and customers. You'll have less backlash when there's a little bit of inconvenience at the time. They'll be prepared that paper straws are coming. They'll be prepared if you've got a charge. So I will share the experience that we've seen in every other state. I was surprised when I went to Sydney and saw that I could still get a free plastic bag. It's unheard of in the rest of Australia. Start charging for these things. It's expected now. You can't charge for a lightweight plastic bag. It's banned. But if you have to change to paper or reusable fabric, a thicker reusable plastic bag, all those things, stop giving them away for free. You will reduce your consumption by up to 90%, and that's what the major supermarkets saw instantly. That was the biggest impact. Is everyone thinks that everyone's buying the same amount? No, 90% drop in the volume we were using. It's even just a 15-cent charge has significant impact on the amount of plastic we're using. So, and paper, because paper has a high carbon impact. Just always remember to consider everything, every resource you use actually has an impact in some way. Paper is particularly high water intensive, high greenhouse impact. Look for recycled options if you're going to go paper, and look for sustainably sourced. But the best option is fabric or things you can bring from home, or a reusable plastic bag that's truly reusable that people are going to use heaps and heaps of times, and then they're going to pop it in the red cycle bin. That's one of the best environmental solutions. Now, informing your customers, we've created posters. We actually created these with the New South Wales government, so they're nice and simple. They're not too governmenty, so you can put them up in your stores or put them up at your festivals and say, this is the law. It's got the New South Wales government logo on it. It is endorsed, but it's also a nice way of saying, look, this is the law. Please don't take it out on me. This change is coming, and if needed, there's information that customers can get. You don't need to answer everything. I would put these posters and things up at least 3 months before you're kicking in changes. And then you'll find your transition is so smooth because customers have known. Then I'm just going to emphasize that the support for businesses. So these are all the types of resources I'm talking about. We've created, fact sheets, and it's translated into about 16 languages, I believe. We've got 16 languages posters, about 6 main languages in the fact sheet. There's little counter cards that are good for smaller spaces that even, go a little bit further and say, hey, if we're going even further and now we only offer paper straws on request. So it's also giving you an opportunity to say, hey, don't expect one for free. So go and check out those resources. You can use anything you like there. Spread the word with it. We're running around, just so you know, we're running around 650 retail precincts. So our team, I've got our team leader, Bonnie Marshall, in the room listening. We've got a team of about 5 people running all over New South Wales at the moment, running up and down main streets, through shopping centres, regional areas and metro. Got the link, so if the link's not working, I'll give you something else. That's the government's website. It's so much. We've had a few issues with that one. Yeah, we're running all over the streets trying to get this information out, but I would recommend don't wait for us to be there. We can't guarantee we're going to see everybody. We are doing regional and metro. We're already up to about 300 locations, and that's thousands of businesses. And so we're personally visiting people to explain this, but our target is really small to medium businesses. Otherwise, I've got these online sessions. So the last Wednesday of every month, I hold pop-in sessions. So check us out on, I'll put the link up at the end too. We have, you can come along any month and ask me questions. Thank you, Gabriella. In that I hold one for WA every last Wednesday of the month, New South Wales, and I'm just about to kick off one for ACT because ACT's ban is kicking on the 1st of July. So if you've got a question about bans, just come and hit us up. I'll hit the Q&As afterwards, just reminding you that we also have a hotline. This is really for the unusual queries. Please do go and have a look at all the FAQs first. But if you really feel like, oh, I've got a unique situation or I really need a bit of extra advice, you can call our team. We are specialists in this area and there's not much we haven't seen or heard. And we can keep it anonymous. It's not like you're talking to government. You can tell us what you love, hate, how you're going with it, and we can keep that between us. But our job is to try and help you through this and help you comply. Once again, the resources, and then these links, and then if some of those aren't working, I'm happy to provide those afterwards.